Hello, Algebra 1 students. We're going to start today's lesson, which is the second part of section 7.3 on rational exponents. Today we're going to learn how to solve rational equations. So let's get started. All right, we're on page 413 if you want to follow along in your textbook. And so the title of today's lesson is Solving Exponential Equations is what we want. Solving exponential equations. So the object here is to get the same base on each side. So that's what we want to do here. Same base on each side. And the reason we want to do that is because if b to the x equals b to the y, then x is going to equal y. So for instance, for example, let's say that I have 5 to the x equals 5 to the third. So the bases are the same, and so I can, my next step would be to set the exponents equal to each other. So it's going to be x equals 3, and you're finished. That's your answer. X is 3. So we're going to go a little deeper than that, but that's the basics of it. So let's just start out with a simple example here, and we'll go to another board. So go to this one. So number 1 here. So we have 6 to the x equals 216. So we want to write 216 as 6 to a power. So we're just going to, off to the side, divide 6 into 216. So 6 into 20 is going to be 3. And so 18, and that's going to be 36. So it's going to be 6. And then we're going to divide 6 again. And that's 6 and 6, and when we're done. So there's 1, 2, 3 6s here. So 216 equals 6 to the third power, because we have a 6 here, a 6 here, and a 6 there. There's 3 of them. So now we can rewrite this exponential equation. So 6 to the x is going to equal 6 to the third, and so x is going to equal 3. Okay? So number 2, let's try another one similar to that. So let's say 5 to the x equals 125. So we know we have to make this as a power 5 to an exponent. So let's just start dividing. So I'm just going to leave myself a little space above 125. So 5 into 125 is 2 with 2 left over. 5 into 25 is 5. And 5 and 5 here. So we have 1, 2, 3. So we know 125 is going to equal 5 to the third, because there's 3 5s. We don't have any remainder or anything, so that's 5 to the third. So 5 to the x equals 5 to the third, and so x again is going to equal 3. Okay? All right, let's go on to a different example here. So let's say there's an expression in your exponent here. So let's say we have, so this is number 3, 25 to the x minus 1 power equals 5. Okay, well, we know 25 is 5 squared, so I'm going to rewrite it as 5 squared. But then I have this x minus 1 here. I have to add parentheses because it's an expression, and that's going to equal 5, and there's an implied 1 here, 5 to the first. So now that the bases are the same, I can set the exponents equal to each other. So we know we're going to have 2 times x minus 1 is going to give us 1. And we're going to distribute the 2 through. So 2x minus 2 equals 1. We're going to add the 2 over. So 2x is going to equal 3. And so x is going to equal 3 halves. You'd circle it, and that's your answer. So let's walk back through this a little bit. I knew that 25 was 5 squared. I have to put the parentheses in here because it's an expression. I now have the bases the same, so I'm going to set the exponents equal to each other, distribute and divide, and I got my answer of 3 halves. Okay, number 4 here. Let's try this one. 12 to the 2x plus 3 power equals 144. Well, I know that 144 is 12 squared, so I'm just gonna, this is gonna stay the same. And I'm gonna rewrite 144 as 12 squared. So now the bases are the same, so I'm gonna set the exponents equal to each other. And I'm gonna solve for x. So I'm gonna subtract the 3, so 2x equals a negative 1. Divide by 2, so x equals a negative 1 half. All right. So let's move on to something a little bit different. We're going to look at a real world problem here. Let's move on to another board. Okay, so this problem refers back to page 410. And there's a section there called Y, and I'm just going to read it and we're going to work it out. So it's important to protect your skin with sunscreen to prevent damage. The sun protection factor, SPF, of a sunscreen indicates how well it protects you. Sunscreen with an SPF of F absorbs about P% of the UVB rays where, okay, so they gave us an equation, P equals 50 times F to the 0.2 power. And we're going to write down what P equals and what F is, so we remember where to put our numbers. So P is going to be the percent of UV rays. So it's a percentage of UVB rays. And F is your SPF value, your sun protection factor. Okay, so that's why they put an F there for factor. We're just going to put that in parentheses. So let's go back to our problem on page 413 now. So now I'm back on page 413. I have a formula that I'm going to use to work out the problem, and I am looking at example 6. Okay, it says, find the SPF. So we want to find the SPF that absorbs 100%. So we got 100% of UVB rays. So P is going to equal 100%, and we don't know what the factor is, and that's what we're going to find. So we're going to use our equation and sub in some numbers. So P is the percentage, so we have 100 is going to equal 50 to the F, or times F to the 0.2 power. So the first thing I want to do is I want to divide by 50. Just start getting that variable by itself. Okay, these cancel, the 50s are gone, and this turns out to be 2. So 2 is going to equal F to the 0.2 power. Okay, so we want to end up with F to the first. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change this decimal into a fraction. So let's look at that. 0.2 is 2 to the 10th, because that's the 10th place. And I just reduce it, and it's 1/5. So I'm going to rewrite this. 2 equals F to the 1/5 power. Now, remember I want a 1 to appear here. Well, the only way to do that is to take each side to the 5th power. So if I raise F here to the 5th, I'm going to have to raise 2 to the 5th to keep things equal. Well, the 5s are going to cancel, and I get 2 to the 5th is F. Well, 2 to the 5th is 32. So 32 is going to equal F. And then you just write a little phrase of, well, what does that mean? So that means that your sun protection factor is going to equal 32. So FPF of 32 for 100% UVB blockage. Okay, that's what that means. All right, let's try another one here. So we're going to talk about chemistry. I'm looking at the bottom of page 413. And we're going to look at the guided practice there. The radius R of the nucleus of an atom of mass number A is, so R equals 1.2 A to the 1/3 power. Find A, so we're looking for A here, if R equals 3.6 femtometers, and that's just a label here. So I'm going to sub in 3.6, and that's going to equal 1.2 A to the 1/3. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to divide by 1.2, and I'm going to get A to the 1/3. Well, 1.2 and 3.6, I'm just going to multiply by 10. So it's really 36 divided by 12. So that's 3. Okay, so I still have to get the A by itself. So it's to the 1/3 power. Well, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 3. So if I raise this side to the 3rd power, I have to also raise that side to the 3rd power. So 3 to the 3rd is going to equal A, because the 3's are going to cancel. So 27 is going to equal A here. So that means we're going to have, we just have to interpret it. So it's the mass of the atom. So 27 is the mass of the mass number of the atom. 27 is the mass number of the atom. And that's it. So I hope you enjoyed these lessons. this is the end of 7.3, and we'll see you on in another lesson.